Hello and welcome back to Art Masters with me, Mrs. Portilla. Today we're going to be doing paper art sculptures by Louise Nevelson. And she made abstract sculptures or three-dimensional designs out of things like wood and later metal. And she actually used a lot of recycled wood and other objects, just like you guys used recycled items in Create. So today for our project, instead of using wood, we're going to be doing paper art sculptures. And we're going to be making these three-dimensional, and Nevelson was actually the architect of shadows. And when you do these three-dimensional pieces and you have the light shining on them in different ways, you're going to see some very unique shadows. So let's go ahead and get started on our abstract paper sculptures. Okay, so to get started with our Nevelson paper sculpture, I'm going to set aside all my pieces, and I just want to have the black paper and a variation of one of these brown papers. You're probably gonna... So here's our example. So we're going to glue down our brown paper onto our background. So we're always thinking about balance on our composition, where the arrangement of the elements makes things interesting. I don't usually like to just glue something right in the center, so I'm going to glue mine on the edge. I'm using liquid glue today. You can use the glue stick, but you might need the liquid glue for some of our more interesting shapes. So let's go ahead and glue down our brown paper onto our black paper. So I am going to start with just a simple fold. So you may pick whatever color paper you want. You're going to be getting 3 of each of these colors. And my first example is going to be a fold. So I'm going to take this tan paper. Let's watch first and then you could do it. I'm going to take it this way. It's a rectangle, putting it this way. I'm going to do an accordion fold. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold edge to edge. Pinch, and I'm going to fold it again, an accordion. So I want everyone, we're just going to kind of pause a lot to do a couple of these together, and then at the end you'll have more free choice to add more items. So let's everybody grab a piece of paper and do the accordion fold, where you just fold it in half and fold it in half again. Excellent. Everyone should just have an accordion fold. Again, we're going to do the basic shapes and then we'll add more details later. So just follow along with me on these first few. So now I'm going to pick a different paper and I am going to do a slit. So a slit is just a little cut or a little slot on our piece of paper. So I have my whole piece of paper. Again, I'm going to turn it like horizontal or landscape facing. Exactly. And I'm going to cut 4 slits. So watch me first, please. I'm not cutting all the way through my paper. So I might cut a slit at a diagonal and a diagonal. I'm not going all the way through the paper. And then I'm turning it around and I'm going to do a diagonal. I don't want to connect. I still want to have some space there, and a diagonal. So I have 4 slits. And then when I'm done, I can fold these into something interesting. So let's everybody do some slits. So you're going to take your rectangular piece of paper and you're going to cut 2 slits on one side and 2 slits on the other side. If you accidentally cut all the way through your paper, just keep them and we can use them for something else. The next one I'm going to do is a cone. A cone. So I'm going to take a different sheet of paper, a different color, and I'm going to cut a circle. So my circle's not perfect, but this is abstract, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm also going to now cut a slit halfway through my circle. I don't want to cut my circle in half. I want a slit. So just a snip, just like that. And then this will turn into a cone once we have some glue. So let's everybody cut out a cone. So we're gonna cut a circle with a slit. Okay, excellent. Next, I'm going to show you a roll piece of paper. So I'm just showing you different techniques. And like I said, we'll add to this at the end to make it more interesting. So I'm going to use a different piece of paper. Watch me first. And I'm gonna roll my paper. So I think for this one, I'm just gonna grab an edge here. And I'm gonna roll it on my pencil like a burrito. And I'm just gonna go about halfway because I wanna make this an interesting roll. Ooh, look at that. And then I wanna make this exciting. So I'm gonna flip my paper over, and I'm gonna roll it on my pencil this way to get a kind of curly Q shape like this. Now, if you want to, you can take it and just roll it completely like a burrito, and then you're gonna get more of this like taquito curly Q. So just give me one roll. Everyone take your pencil, get your paper, and you could either take one side, roll it halfway, and then roll the other side, or you could roll it all the way for a taquito. So everybody give me one rolled piece of paper. Okay, excellent. So the last one I'm gonna show you is going to be a fold and a slit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold my paper in half. Either way is fine. This half or the other half, okay? Watch first. So this one, I'm gonna make this kind of interesting. So watch how I do this. I'm always slitting on my folded edge, okay? So if you're not sure, folded edge. I'm gonna turn it this way, and I'm gonna do 1, 2, and I'm gonna go on this side and do about the same size, 1, 2. So that's 4 slits, not going all the way through on the folded side. And when I open it, I'm gonna push this part down and this part down. And I'm actually creating a little holder. And I might put something through that at the end. So that's a fold and a slit. If you wanna try that one, you could give me a fold. And then I did 4 slits. Excellent. So we obviously still have some extra pieces left, which is good because I want to keep this interesting. But I'm going to show you a couple of things I'm going to do with the pieces I do have. I'm going to take my circle with the slit and I'm going to turn that into a cone. And I'm going to use my glue to stick that as a cone. I might have to pinch it and hold it. My accordion, I actually want to cut. So this is optional. I'm just showing you what we could do with the shapes we currently have. So I might do like a diagonal cut here. And I want to keep both sides because I might keep them and place them like that, creating some interesting relief and shape and shadows. For my cut slit piece, I might make some interesting folds on these. So I'm going to do an accordion fold on this flap to make that more interesting. Okay, and maybe you want to add another slit on this one to make it more interesting. So this is optional, just watch me for a minute, and I'm going to fold that into an accordion. Okay, so if you want to enhance the few shapes that we do have, like adding some folds onto our little pop-up pieces, maybe cutting one of our shapes and gluing our cone. Good job. So we all have about 5 shapes so far, and maybe we cut some and folded some. We definitely want to keep some of these shapes, our squares, because we might overlap some of these. But I'm thinking let's leave maybe 4 squares to use for our background, and that should leave us with about 3 left. So what I'm going to do with these 3 is I'm going to do variations of rolling, slits, and folding. And then you guys can watch, and then you guys can kind of decide. So I'm just going to show you real quick. So for a fold, I'm going to maybe do some triangular folds. Maybe fold an edge, and then fold it backwards. Fold an edge, fold it backwards. So I'm just exploring with what happens when I fold, and maybe I want to cut my fold. Okay, I want to stick something through my slitted slot area, so I might cut one of my papers in half and do another roll, and maybe I stick that through my slitted shape. I might do another fold in a slitted shape, but I want it to be a little bit different this time. So I'm going to fold, and I'm going to do like a triangle by doing a diagonal cut on the folded side and opening it and popping it up and getting an interesting shape. So let's go ahead and save 4 of our rectangles in case we want to use those for some background. And let's cut or fold or slit our other shapes that we have. No gluing yet, we're just making shapes. Okay, excellent job. So we should have a bunch of different folds and maybe rolls and slitted shapes. Now we're going to start thinking about our composition and our layout of our design. So like I said, we should have about 4 of these papers left, and I'm going to start laying it out. I'm not going to glue. For instance, if I put a large shape here, for the sake of balance on my composition, I'm probably going to want to put another large shape there. And if maybe I put a pointy shape here, I might want to put something similar down here, okay? Now that's how we're thinking about balance when we're doing our composition. We also want to think about contrast, the difference between the colors and the shapes. So look at this. This brown on top of the brown, there's not a big contrast, though there's some interesting shadows from the relief. But if I put my black on this tan piece, do you guys see that contrast? The light to the dark. So as I'm doing my composition without glue, I'm thinking about balance, big items opposite of big items. And then I'm thinking about contrast, making things pop and look interesting. So you could just watch me and fast forward as I just lay out my design, and then you lay out your design without gluing. So we kind of have a layout with the shapes that we like. Now I'm kind of looking, and I had some extra shapes left over, and I think I want to actually cut some of my little background shapes since it looks very square to me. So now I might go through, since nothing's glued, I can go through and change some of these shapes. So this shape, I like the contrast, but it's kind of boring. I'm going to make this into maybe an oval shape. And this brown shape, I think maybe I'll just cut off the edges. And maybe to make it even more exciting, maybe I'll fold some of these edges. So now I'm just going to kind of go through, and I'm going to make my image more exciting by possibly cutting some of these little background rectangles that I had. And then maybe I'm going to fold up some more edges on something. So go ahead and let's make our design a little more interesting by changing some of the background shapes and folding up some of our edges. And then we're still not going to glue, we're still just placing. Hopefully we have some more interesting shapes, some cuts and some folds, and our idea of a layout. So now we're gonna glue. You can use your glue stick for some of these shapes, but a lot of them, we're gonna need our wet glue so they'll actually stick. So just go ahead, you can watch me and fast forward, and as you're gluing, if you decide you wanna change a shape or fold something, do that before you glue it all the way down. So as you're gluing, you're still welcome to make occasional changes. But remember, we're thinking about balance of our composition, contrast, and how things look. All right, excellent job. So hopefully you have everything glued down. It's a little messy with some of these awkward shapes. And you could see as I went along, sometimes I maybe repurposed some of my other scraps because I realized I needed another rolled piece, or I changed out another piece. So as you're gluing, it's okay if you needed to fold a little extra. I added some slits on this guy to make ruffles. So you just want to make sure everything looks nice with their folds. Go ahead and fix any of your folds. And then when you're done, you're going to carefully put your Nevelson sticker on the back, or you may want to wait till these dry. And then you want to put your name on the back as well. And great job with your Nevelson abstract paper art sculpture. Great job today, guys, on your abstract paper sculpture by Louise Nevelson, our architect of shadows. Hopefully, once all your pieces are hung up on the wall, you can notice the balance of each other's art. Maybe you can see some of the interesting shadows that our relief or our three-dimensional shapes create on our page. And you can point out the different techniques that people used. And I hope you had a good time doing your abstract paper sculpture by Louise Nevelson. And I'll see you next time on Art Masters.